Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, as entrepreneurs, we need other entrepreneurs as role models so we can learn from the things that they did and apply them ourselves. But we are unfortunately limited to looking at the likes of Alex Hormozi or Elon Musk, who happens to be an enemy of Islam, and so on and so forth, that we look up as examples of those that have done business in this day and age. But there is an entrepreneur who the Prophet ﷺ said to him, because of how much good that he did and how much he used his wealth that he generated from his businesses to serve the deen of Allah, the Prophet announced in front of all of his companions in the masjid, on the pulpit, saying, after today, nothing that you do will harm you, i.e. you will go to Jannah, do whatever it is that you want, but you are going to paradise, don't worry about that. It was none other than Uthman radiyallahu anhu. Now, I don't want to talk to you today about Uthman's generosity. I don't want to talk to you today about his shyness and the worship that he did and how much of a great worshipper of Allah that he was. What I want to talk to you about is how this great entrepreneur gave us the secret to his wealth that he used to serve the religion of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that's what I want to share with you today.
Breaking news just in. Muslim entrepreneurs from all over the world are flying in to join this gang. The suspects are driving Lamborghinis and Ferraris, plotting their next $100 million business ventures. They're racing, praying, and networking their way to success, with celebrities and investors joining the ride. They're armed with iman and ambition, but the most shocking twist: every move is 100% halal. If this isn't stopped, their influence will only grow. Do not click the link below if you see ads for this retreat. They only allow 7- and 8-figure earners, and if you fill in the form at the link below, you might get access.
What's discussed in the McLaren stays in the McLaren.
Now, before I go into it, I must mention that when I came across this statement a few months ago, I was actually underwhelmed because I didn't understand it. And the reason why I didn't understand it, and didn't really take it too seriously, is because I realized that I'm not on the level that Uthman was at. Uthman was if he was alive today, he'd be a 9-10-figure entrepreneur, Allahumma barik. So things that he says and what he sees to be important to be able to grow a business to that level might be a bit boring or maybe a bit ambiguous to the likes of me, who's just usually just afflicted with shiny object syndrome. They're just trying to make sure we grow our social media personal brands as much as we possibly can, and sales and closes and keda. The day I realized what Uthman said was gold was when I started sitting with a good friend of mine who is a VC here in the UAE, and he manages a fund of $160 million. He's invested in companies that have, he invested $500,000 in it, and they've scaled. They're currently now valued at $1 billion. Like, that's the kind of level that we're talking at. Allahumma barik. And the things that he would talk to me about Imran, this is what you do to grow a business. These are the things that you focus on. I realized, wait, that's what Uthman said. I sat with the statement of Uthman and I pondered on it, and I realized that anything and everything that we're trying to do in business to actually get the business to scale, Uthman captured it in these 5 statements. So I'm going to share it with you. I want you to be patient enough to go through a few examples of how to apply these, and then you'll probably go away and realize that actually you can apply more to this, bi'idhnillah. But Uthman captured it so beautifully, and perhaps Allah gave him the tawfiq to give us this beautiful lesson because of his worship and his servitude to Allah Azza wa Jal, that he was able to understand that really it comes back down to these 5 things. What is it? Number 1. كنت أعالج وأنمي ولا أزدري ربحا ولا أشتري شيخا وأجعل الرأس رأسين. He said, number 1, I'm going to explain it to you quickly, give you the underwhelming version, and then I'm going to break it down. He said, number 1, I was always fixing things. Number 2, I was always growing things in my business. Number 3, I would never ever belittle any profit. Number 4, I would never ever purchase a product that had a short shelf life. It didn't have a long lifetime. And the last thing, I would make sure that I diversify my assets. طيب, let's break this down. When he said u'alij, that I was constantly fixing things, take a step back. What are the fundamental activities that a business owner has to do day in, day out? Well, number 1, when you're trying to grow a business, you'll notice that the business will always grow to its constraint. The business will always grow to its bottleneck. And then at that point, you're like, okay, cool, I have to solve this constraint that's constricting my business. At any given time, your constraint might be marketing. For example, I was just sitting with a client earlier who's got a holiday homes company here in the UAE, in Dubai, and they have phenomenal operations. They've got 5-star reviews along about it, 14 properties under management, making a lot of money. Their constraint is that they are looking to get more landlords to give them properties. So that's the constraint of the business. They need access to landlords, which is why they came to us to help them get in front of these type of landlords, to bring them those type of leads to our marketing agency. So what is the constraint of your business? Sometimes it's financial management, sometimes it's sales, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. So identify the constraint and then hammer it like a madman. Just work on it every day, chip away at it until that thing is no longer a constraint. You've not just that brick wall that was blocking you, you've broken through it, you've made a hole, right? And you've made your way out. Like, yeah, Juj, Majuj. But obviously, not literally like, yeah, Juj, Majuj. But you understand the concept. So I'm breaking the constraints. So if man is saying every day I'm fixing things, I'm fixing. From the things you're fixing is your constraints. The second thing is optimization. In business, every single day you're optimizing, right? You're making sure that every single part of your funnel, your customer journey is optimized to get the highest conversions. You're making sure that your sales team is always converting at the highest rate. They're always closing at the highest rate. You're making sure that, look, today we noticed that over the last month, our show up rate was what? Was 20%. How do we get to 25%? How do we get to 21%? How do we just nudge the needle up every single time? And you keep finding all of these different things. These are not bottlenecks, but these are just business as usual, as they say. BAU, right? Business as usual. How do we like every day just constantly be tracking the data and optimizing and fixing things? Also, from the angle of CEO, like what's my fundamental job in the business is to, how do I constantly just keep improving my product? How do I keep optimizing my product? How can I keep fixing things? When I was mind blown, like when I look at it, like how much of our day-to-day business activity is just fixing things and having that mindset of, let me come down today to just fix things, to make things better in every single part of my business. How do I make sure the meetings are better? How do I make sure that the sales process is better? How do I make sure that the customer fulfillment, the customer service is better? How do I make sure that the softwares that we're using are better? For example, recently we realized we've got so many different softwares that we're using. We're currently using a particular software right now called Go High Level, which I'll put the affiliate link to it below. And subhanAllah, it's pretty much allowed us to cancel almost all of our other softwares. So we're saving money in terms of everything being cheaper. All the data is being collected on one platform and everything is just in one place, right? So even like from the angle of that, how do I keep fixing things? Optimization. Beautiful. That's the second application of u'alij, right? Number one, fixing the constraint in the business, the bottleneck. That's the biggest constraint that's stopping you from getting to the next level. Number two, optimization in all of your different departments. Number three, constantly innovating, right? To fix the problem of your customer or your client. Like, this is big. What you have to understand, fundamentally, business is a transaction where you solve someone's problem and they give you money for it. That's it. Every business is solving someone's problem. People don't, parting with their money is painful. The reason why they're going to part with their money to you is because you're going to help them solve a pain that's even greater. And sometimes those pains that they have are superficial, right? Which is, I want to look nice. So I can, be taken seriously. Which is why people buy designer brands, perhaps. But there's always a pain. There's always a pain, and that pain is more painful than the money that they're parting with. So imagine if you can solve the deepest pain that keeps your customer up at night, and you're constantly just innovating. I'll give you an example, right? So we have a network. We have a network of 7-8-figure Muslim entrepreneurs, Allahumma barik. We've got two things, right? We've got our Righteous Rich Skills Academy, where those who are not 7-figure entrepreneurs, we're given the support and the training and the coaching that they need to be able to get to the next zero in terms of their business. But rather it's to get to 7 figures. Because once they're at 7 figures, then they qualify for our other network, which is a network where we have events, we have masterminds, people do business together. There was a £2.4 million British sterling transaction that took place between two brothers, an investment just, I think a week ago, Alam Barik, $1 million transaction. Brothers are doing business, they're having fun, they're connecting, they're coming out with their kids together, they're growing in business. It's an elite network. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, cool. Brothers in my community are coming to me and saying, Imran, we want a place where we can all work together. We want a place where we have one podcast, one podcast studio, and everyone does the editing, and a place where we can kind of have this feeling that we have on the retreats, but day in, day out, like I have my office, you have your office, but just all for us. Like imagine a building that was just filled with the righteous, enriched network, 7-8-figure, 9-figure entrepreneurs all in one building. So that's a problem that people have come to say, I need a workspace where I can just constantly be with brothers and constantly be growing, and we can keep benefiting each other and growing our businesses in this way. So I'm constantly thinking about that. And then, alhamdulillah, today, right, we have an opportunity that we're now looking into, which is getting a building that will be exclusively for us and the Righteous and Rich Network. I think it's called it the Cave, inshallah ta'ala. And in there, We provide workspaces for everyone, offices for everyone, communal meeting rooms, communal podcast studio, and so on and so forth. Allahumma barik. And look, that's a much more valuable problem that I've helped my clients or my network solve. It's also more valuable. So always thinking about how can I take things to the next level? How can I solving the problems of my customers and clients to make my product better, my service better, so I can charge more. So that was u'alij. Bit of a mouthful, right? Number one, theory of constraints. How do I keep, what am I fixing? What am I solving? I'm solving the biggest constraint. I'm also solving optimizations in my business every day. I'm also solving the problems of my customers and make sure that I make my product better every day to solve that problem and then the next problem in the most effective way. U'alij. Uthman radiallahu anhu was a genius. طيب, let's go to the next part. Unammi. I'm always growing. I'm always growing my business. Guys, when you know the brother I told you about who's a VC, who manages a $160 million fund. You know when you go to people for like consultancy and advice, I've gone to guys that are 7-figure, 8-figure, I've gone to guys who are like CEOs of massive companies, and then I've gone to this guy. This guy's different. Like if you ask him for advice, because remember he's a VC, right? So his whole thing is, I want to put my money in a business that's going to grow, and when it grows, I'm going to sell it, and I'm going to take a big exit. So he looks at businesses from the concept of growth. Why did you get into business? To make money. But is it just to get by? No. You got into business to scale. It actually confused me that people get into business, they don't realize that I'm trying to get into this to scale. So have that mindset of growth. How can I take this business and grow it to the highest level? So it's like when you talk to him and you ask him for advice, he understands what your business is, then he zooms out. It's like he goes into a 30,000 view. And in that, he's looking at your business from above, he's looking at the industry, he's looking at the possibilities, he's looking at the competition, and he's advising you from the angle of scale. Because that's the whole point of business. I want to grow it as much as possible. So how do you grow your business? Number one, diversify your product suite. I asked Brother Jamad, who is an e-com beast, Allahumma barik, here in the Middle East, mashallah, tabarakallah. He makes over 300K a month, Allahumma barik. And he also teaches people how to get into Amazon FBA and e-com. I'll put the link to his service below, inshallah ta'ala. He said, Akhi, I went from 0 to 600K. Sorry, I went from 0 to 6 figures with one product. And though I went from 6 to 7, is I diversify my product suite. That's it. Just add a few more products. Have more options for people to buy from me. Another thing that you can do is what Brother Sam did, right? He said, I just created an ascension model. So he used to have a realty agency where he would give, they would sell houses to people, sell commercial and, residential property to people. What did he do? He said, okay, well, the next level is people, when they purchase the property, they want the management. So I created a property management company. And then the next level is they want a title company, an escrow company. So I created an escrow company. And the next level is, well, people want construction. So I created a construction company. So what he did is he had upsells, cross-sells. So if you buy a house from him, then after that, so well, would you like us to handle, the construction? Would you like us to handle the management? In terms of short-term rentals, long-term rentals, whatnot, so on and so forth. Would you like us to also, use our escrow company? And so on and so forth. So what you do is you look at what's the upsell, what's the cross-sell, what's the downsell. This concept of downsell. When you go to the exit aisle of any store, grocery store, clothing store or whatever have you, right? When you retail, right? When you go to the cash register or the till, as they say in the UK, you're gonna notice in the queue there are all these little trinkets and things that you can buy. Maybe chewing gum, chocolate, this, that, bracelets, hairband for women or whatever have you. Those are downsells. People in the queue, they just add these last few things because they think it's cheap. In contrast to what they've already purchased, I might as well spend. That stuff can bump the overall sale by 5-10%. And pretty much people always get that. When we started introducing upsells, 5% of our revenue was coming from upsells. Guys, 5% increase from one little tweak in the business? That's crazy. So always be thinking about how can I grow? Subscription models. A brother came to us on our last Righteous Rise retreat, and he was talking. He's got info product, and he's made millions from it, Allahumma barik. And he's like, every time I make crazy money from it, but the sale always caps at a certain level. How can I make more? Well, I said, do you have any upsells? He said, no. I said, what about monthly recurring membership model, where you might charge lower for the initial payment, but over 7-8 months where they stay with you, or 1-2 years where they stay with you, like 7, 8, 9, 10x how much we're gonna make. He's like, yeah, like those little tweaks and so on and so forth. So the concept is how to constantly be growing the business, right? And sometimes growth is connected to what? Not the quantity of people that you hire, but the quality of people. It's a very important point. I made this mistake. At one time, we grew our team to almost 20 people, but the quality wasn't there. The quantity was. There was lots of people, and I thought, oh, look at me. I'm the CEO of this company. 20 people, Allah Mabarak. We went from 3 to 20 people, Allah Mabarak. But then I had to resize back down to 5, 6 people, as we are currently operating lean today, because we were trying to grow the team in terms of quantity, but not quality. Right? Also, your staff, your team, your employees, you always got to be thinking about their growth model. How do they grow within the company so that they can get a promotion, get a raise, and keep growing? Otherwise, your best people will leave. So, this is the application of unami. Growth in terms of the market, growth in terms of what? Your employees and your team. But the last thing I would mention, growth in terms of profits. You know, a lot of times what we do is that the more revenue we make, the more expenses go up. Why don't our profits go up? Are you in that situation? I was in that situation for almost a decade. My revenue is just going up and 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 up, but also my expenses are. But I'm not making profit. Why? It's like you're trying to chase your tail, right? Just going round and round in circles. The money revenue is going up, but my personal pockets are not. So I read this book called Take Profit, and it just talks about, bro, the only reason you're doing business is for profit. So it mentions that traditional accounting is what? Is that sales minus expenses equals profit. He says, no, do it the other way around. Do sales minus profit equals expenses. Always take your profit first. Force yourself to take your profit first and have a limited amount of expenses that you'll be forced to what? You'll be forced to be creative, to be lean, to be efficient, and use those expenses to be able to get those same results. So since we applied this thinking of scaling down our expenses and operating on lean, we become so creative, so efficient that we're actually doing better in terms of how the team's operating, because we're focused on, wait, scale down the expenses and let's get that profit, guys. So you want to always be thinking, how do I grow my profit? So even today, start taking 1% more profits than you're already taking, and take it out before you pay everyone's salaries. Take it out before you do everything else. And if you need to scale down someone's salary or let someone do that today, because you're only in business to make money, let's be real. Right? And then you want to use that money for yourself, your family, your loved ones, and serve the deen of Allah. So those are the two things. I used to what? Fix things in my business, and I was always growing my business simultaneously. Pay attention to this one. He said, and I never ever belittled any profit, no matter how small it was. I never belittled any profit, no matter how small it was. Guys, this is something that I really want to talk to you about for a second. What we don't realize is that you might have a very small profit, but that profit will compound if you can be focused on volume. If you can just get good at delivering and focusing on volume, that profit will grow. I'll tell you something, and I find this problem with a lot of entrepreneurs, or rather I should say entrepreneurs. And I had this problem myself, guys, which is that we are always just looking to make as much profit as possible, or as much, take home as possible, which probably is just going to go back into expenses. But we're always looking to get the biggest cut. So when there's an affiliate partnership, we're always trying to get the biggest commission for ourselves. When there's a deal, you're always trying to get the most. When it's a client, you're always trying to sell him at the highest level, but then you lose him because there's someone that's going to be willing to do a better job than you, cheaper. Now, I'm all for charge as much as you can, but not at the beginning. Let me tell you a couple of stories. So, number one, personally. So we used to charge a certain price for our Umrah setup, right? The traditional price was £3,500. £3,500 for our Umrah setup. We used to teach people how to set up Umrah companies. We don't do that anymore, but we used to teach that. It was an info product. And our sales team was like, just bump it up to 4.5K. Now, we were constantly increasing the price. When we hit 4.5K, that was the worst month, period. Yes, 2 or 3 guys bought for 4.5K. It was a great sale, big money, but we didn't hit the volume. We increased the price, but overall we made less. But what too greedy? I'm talking about myself. Not my sales team were doing their job. They were encouraging me. No shade on them. It's just me. It was my fault. It's like, yeah, let's do it. What we realized was that we missed that sweet spot. Actually, by charging less, we'd have made less per individual sale, but guess what? Overall, we'd have made more. There's a brother that I know, young brother, he's got an agency, a media agency, Allah Barik, and he straight away got 1, 2 clients that had a lot of money and started charging them crazy money. And he just kept increasing the price from 3K to 4K, 4K to 5K. Pounds, brother, British pounds. Overnight, what happened, guys? Overnight, another brother came, set up the exact same model, charging maybe, a quarter of what he was charging. All those clients went to him and more. He got more, Allahumma barik. Because the first brother, he was just thinking about, I want more profits. The second brother said, brother, I don't care. I'll put the dirt in and I'll take the small profits and then I'll grow. And then I'll grow. Guys, if you take that small profit and you deliver a good job, people will come back to you, they'll give you referrals. It's actually funny. Today, I told you we're about to do a deal with someone in the holiday home space, right? It's a potentially massive client at Lombard, and they've got access to so many other clients and things for us. This client was given to me by another one of our clients who we charged peanuts for. A service that was a lot of money. We charged them 40% of the price for it. We gave them 60% off. I remember at the time feeling like, bro, we really gave this to them cheap, but look at that. We delivered them the service. We didn't belittle the small profit. They sent us 2 referrals already, Allahumma barik, of people that are great caliber. Don't belittle the small profit, especially when you're working at the beginning. Also, when you're doing business and you're a bona fide entrepreneur, still don't belittle the small profit. You know why? Because here's the thing. If you can provide the service greater than everyone else cheaper, you will always undercut your competition, take home the cake. You just got to make sure that you're constantly improving your product. And with volume, those small amounts compound. I didn't get into e-com because I was like, e-com, wait, when I look at it, I'm actually only taking like 20% per sale on certain products. Some are obviously a lot higher. But then I met this brother Jamal who makes 300K a month of selling pens, Allahumma barik. Pens, Ak. Because of that compounds through volume. Suddenly, that 20% or however much it is percentage Allah alim that he's making, let's just say he's making £1.50, £2, £5 per pen, but you're selling hundreds of pens a day, every day, for 30 days. Suddenly, Allahumma barik. So, وَلَا أَزْدَرِي رِبْحًا. Any profit is profit. Any profit is profit. Any profit is profit. Brothers will like, I was getting paid this much at my job. I'm not going to start a business only to be earning this much. Trust me, it compounds gradually, you will see the khair. So that was the third thing. The fourth thing is, وَلَا أَشْتَرِي شَيْخًا. This one is very important. He said, I would never buy something old. I would never buy something that was old. Now think about it. In his day and age, they would sell fruits and barley and things like that. So it's like, I'm not going to sell something that doesn't have a long shelf life. Because so I'm not going to buy something, a product that I'm going to invest in, that's going to expire, because then I'm going to have to throw my produce away. Guys, this is what my VC friend looks at and thinks about. He's always thinking about, wait, what's the thing that I'm going to invest in that's going to have that people are going to need for the longest time? And Alex Hormozi talks about it as well. He talks about build a business that people will never cancel the subscription of. Like, for example, phones. We don't cancel our phone subscription or internet subscription, right? These are things that you don't cancel subscription for. A marketing agency that delivers results for its clients, like what we have. Imagine I'm delivering results for my clients and I'm making more money than they ever had before. Better than any other agencies ever made. Better than any of the in-house guys have made. Are they going to leave me? No. Hello, man. They're not going to leave me because I'm literally connected to their bottom line. So build a product or service that people don't want to cancel, that's got a long lifetime cycle, or things that people always need. One of our clients, he's got a supplements company, and he mentioned he wanted us to run an offer, which was buy one, get one free. And I said, look, eventually this offer is going to fatigue. Right? Currently, Allahumma barik, we're getting him a 17, 18 return on his ad spend, which is unusual. Most people can't get that type of ad spend return. But alhamdulillah, we have a great team, and of course, we're capitalizing on opportunity that will eventually drop. But Allahumma barik, 17, 18x, right? On his ad spend is pretty good, Allahumma barik. And it's just, briefly after the testing stage. Anyways, he said, look, I don't think that the buy one, get one free ad will fatigue because people are always in need of supplements. So if someone's buying protein from me, and he doesn't sell, I don't even think he sells protein, he sells other things, like more like specialized stuff. So people always need that. It's true. I take magnesium, I take zinc, and when it runs out, I go and get it again. And it runs out, I go and get it again. And as long as that buy one get one free offer is running, and I see it at a time when I've run out my supply, I'm going to buy more. So it's like, wow, look at that. So be in an industry. I look to be in an industry where you are always buying and selling things that are going to always be in demand. They're going to always have the longest shelf life if it's a product, or things that are services that are always going to be in demand for the longest amount of time. Which is one of the reasons I want to now get this building, right? This righteous and rich network office space here in Dubai, because people are always going to be in need of that. Like you're always going to need an office space. And if it's connected to a network of elite entrepreneurs that are helping you do business and helping you improve your business, and you're doing business with them, and you've got access to these people that we're vetting at the highest caliber, bro, you're never going to leave, inshallah ta'ala. So, la ashtari shaykhan, get involved in things that are always going to have the longest lifespan, that are always going to be in need for the longest time. Last and final one, Uthman was a genius. The last and final one, he said, وَأَجْعَلُ الرَّأْسِ رَأْسَيْنِ. He said, I would always make my capital, my assets, I always diversify them. This is a lesson I learned the hard way, which is that don't put your eggs in one basket. I've taken my entire net worth sometimes and just put it into things, right? And lost everything. Multiple times. But Uthman radiallahu anhu was about diversifying his assets. Now, here's the thing. This diversification is there to protect you. Because if all your eggs are in one basket and that basket goes, and guess what? Guys, baskets get attacked, lost, all the time, right? If all your eggs are in one basket, things are going to collapse. And the diversification is what protects your money. I clock, bro, us entrepreneurs who have ADHD that are just young, aggressive, but we don't think about growing this wealth. And then if you're growing this wealth, you've got to protect this wealth. You've got to protect it. But these big guys, they think about protecting their wealth, Allahumma barik. So, Tayyib, how do you protect? So, number one, you've got to diversify your assets. So you might have money in liquid cash, right? You might have money in, Bitcoin. You might have money, for example, in gold. You might have money in property. You might have money in business. Like, for example, my VC friend, the assets that he owns is businesses. And he mentions that he will always buy, he will always buy 24 businesses. Because the way that it works is that if you're in the VC space, 24 is the number. If you're always trying to get the best possible businesses, you're doing your due diligence, looking at things that are growing in the market, whatnot, so on and so forth. He's like, 24 of them, 20 of them are always going to fail. You're going to lose the money you put into them. 2 of them will bring back the money that you invested, but the other 2 will scale to the moon. That will help you maybe 10x, 20, 30, 40x, because they will be those industry disruptors. It's about diversifying. If you put all your money in one business, there's a greater chance of that failing than anything else. But because of the diversification, you protect. Also diversify your product suite, as we talked about earlier. If you just got one product, what happens when that product disappears? What happens when that product runs out of demand, or there's an issue? One of our clients, he, Allahumma barik, is making like 200-300k a month, Allahumma barik, in his e-com business, and suddenly the government got in touch with him and he had to scrap 19 of his products from his site that cost him 150k in monthly recurring revenue. So 170k monthly recurring revenue was cut just like that. But Allahumma barik, he's still making 100k plus because he had diversified his product suite. And now, alhamdulillah, since then, that's been growing and booming through the advertising that has been happening on his business, walillah alhamd wal minna. So the diversify your product suite, but also, guys, diversify your clients. It's a brother that I know who had an agency, had one client that was basically responsible for like 70-80% of his net worth. When he lost that client, what do you think happened to him overnight? Stuck. May Allah make it easy for him. I mean, so don't just have one client. No, diversify your clients. Look, even when it comes to marketing, you have to diversify your marketing and lead acquisition channels. How many times have we heard of people that were running ads on Instagram and Facebook and Meta just shut off their ad account? It happens all the time, and then their leads dry up completely because they put all their eggs in one lead acquisition channel. Me, myself, when it comes to organic content, I've had my YouTube taken away from me twice. Imagine all those years I built up this one channel and then it gets taken away, right? YouTube shut me down. And now I'm at 0. I've had my Instagram taken away from me 5 times. This is very real. It happens. If all your eggs are in one basket, bro, that basket, if there's a leak or it gets taken away from you, everything's gone. In fact, when you're talking about scaling, they're like 8 different lead acquisition channels. And you want to make sure that you're operating on all of them, if not as many of them as possible, so that you've got leads coming from here, from there, from here, from there. I was speaking to a brother yesterday who's massive in the info product space, Allah barak, here in the Middle East, but he only gets leads from Meta. He's like, if we turn off our ads, leads dry up. This is problematic, right? You've got to make sure you've got a diversity of all these different channels. So guys, there you have it. This is the genius of Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu, the third Khalifa of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The 5 things I repeat. Kuntu u'alij wa unammi. I used to fix things in my business and grow my business simultaneously. ولا أزدري ربحا. I would never ever belittle any profit. ولا أشتري شيخا. I would never buy anything that didn't have a long shelf life. That didn't have the demand wasn't high over a long period of time. And then وأجعل الرأس رأسين. And I used to make sure that I've diversified my assets so as to protect my wealth, so it's not all just in one place. Now, this is the genius of the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, who used their wealth that they earn in a massive way to earn paradise. And that's the spirit of what we're trying to revive at the Righteous and Rich. So there's 2 things that I'd like to present to you at this moment in time. Number 1, if you make less than 7 figures, we've got something called the Righteous and Rich Skills Academy, which is an online community where we give you the training, the coaching, the consultancy, and the guidance to be able to get to that next level in terms of business. I, Brother Fawaz, who is a 7-figure Muslim performance mindset coach, who teaches people how to make sure they perform at the highest level, because you can have all the resources available, but if you're not performing at the highest level, guess what? None of that will count. He shows you how to perform, you as an entrepreneur, at your maximum capacity. He's going to be on there teaching, taking calls. I myself will be teaching the organic side of things. We have Brother Tahmeen, who's managed hundreds of millions of dollars in ad spend, helped many of our clients make their first 100K. Some of them, one of them actually, in 14 days, alhamdulillah. So we've got these guys. We've got Brother Jamal, who is a beast in the e-com space. All of us are going to be on there teaching you, educating you, taking calls, answering your questions, giving you live consultancy, and an active community that's ready to support one another. We also have something called the Righteous Rides Retreat, which is for 7 figures and above entrepreneurs, 7 figures and above entrepreneurs. This is where we actually get together, we meet on a private island, we drive supercars, we do mastermind, we do business deals. Allahumma barik, it's phenomenal, it's amazing. So if you're 7 figures and above and you're looking for that community to take your business to the next level and direct access to myself, my team, Righteous Rights. If you're looking for that online community, you make less than 7 figures, Skills Academy, click the link below. I'd love to see you on the other side. With that said, subhanakallahumma bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.